up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. As always, I'm your host, Oda Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me, follow me, like my content on all your favorite social media, including TikTok, but not Facebook, because I keep saying this. Do not add me on Facebook. I gotta know you in person for that. It's not that I'll be posting wild things on Facebook. It's just that's a level of intimacy I'm just not ready to give to the public. I'm sorry. Y'all still cool though. But as always, season 3, you know how we do it. New guests every week. And I got a very special guest with me today. The now famous, the now verified, the now unstoppable, probably future G4 host. You heard it here first. Kahlief Adams. Give it up for him, everybody. Whoop, whoop.
What the deal be, man? I'm happy to see you, fam. It's been way too long. It feels like it's been 2 millennia since I've seen you in person for sure. But we haven't had a chance to chop it up on the show in a minute too. So I'm hyped to rock with you, fam. I am not famous, y'all. That definitely means don't get at me in my DMs and ask me for stuff. Especially don't hit me up on Facebook because I ain't even on Facebook no more like that. But I'm just joking. Again, not famous, but super excited to rock with y'all.
All I'm saying is not famous people don't have to tell people not to hit them up in their DMs because they ain't famous, so nobody would. Just saying.
That's reasonable. That is a reasonable take on famous, not famous people. So I rock with that.
Yes, like you said, we haven't seen each other in person before 2020 or been on the show before, so that's like 5 years in 2020 time. But Kahlief, just in case, I know you're famous, but just in case people don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Kahlief Adams. I run the Spawn on Me podcast with Kahlief Adams. See, I had to change it up once I got famous. I had to add that little Kahlief Adams part once I got not famous. And I run a gaming podcast that we've been doing for the past 7 years or so, spotlighting people of color in the video game industry and giving them a place to talk about themselves and talk about why they're in the space and why they're in the gaming industry. But the other thing that goes along with that is we get a chance to celebrate our culture, especially through a prism of blackness is what we do, because I'm a black person and I am a black man in the world. So why not talk about games through that prism and that lens? So it's been a fantastic ride so far. Lots of cool things have happened in the past 7 years. And we continue to see if we can push forward and make some more dope stuff happen for sure.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Prism of blackness. That's just, it's going to be a future album title. I'll credit that with you one day, It's just,
reasonable.
It just sounds so dope. Black absorbs all. There's sciencey things we can do with that. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna get too far in the weeds. I'll say that for our topics this week, which we're gonna be talking about a lot of things, people. We're gonna be talking about next gen exclusivity. We know just beyond the Bethesda thing, it's wild, man. We don't know what's about to happen with this cross-play, cross-gen, what's gonna be exclusive, what's not gonna be exclusive. Hey, at the way things are going, I'm expecting to play Halo on my Switch. It's the wild west out here. I don't know what Nintendo's been doing something, y'all. So I'm just saying they.
I love how you just broke that news on the podcast. It's like, yo, that joint is coming to Switch. I love that joint.
But before we get all in that, the PlayStation 5, as you're watching this, has been out about a week. So everyone's got thoughts. Everyone who has one, by the way, has thoughts. The rest of us,
sure.
We're scrubs and gotta go over our friend's house. And I don't have to do that. I do, but hey, get it how you get it in this world. So we're gonna be giving thoughts, opinions, what they're doing great, what they're not doing great. Week in review for the PS5. But before all of that,
yes,
there's a gaming trend going on that the world is really sleeping on right now. We kind of hear about it, we all kind of know about it, but it's in-game video game concerts. If you didn't know, this week Roblox, the knockoff of Minecraft, and I will keep saying that, I will die on that hill. I don't care what no one says. It's a knockoff of Minecraft. Had Lil Nas X do a live concert set show that ran about 15 minutes. I don't know. And if you're thinking that's crazy, if you remember about a month or so, not a month, probably 2-3 months ago, Travis Scott had a concert in Fortnite, which was kind of dope. I won't even front. Because at that time, this was new and innovative. But before that, Marshmello did a concert in Fortnite. And if we had other in-game concerts, I'm not cool enough to know about it, or I don't play games that 15-year-olds play. I don't know. Yeah, that was a shameless plug. Get y'all people playing Roblox, you 8-year-olds and 15-year-olds spending thousands of dollars. But Kahlief, I just gotta know, what do you think about this? Because clearly, we can either say this is something due to COVID, but they had this planned out for at least months, if not years.
Oh yeah, like most of these things take a long time to get together and planned and pushed into, existence. I know I've heard numerous conversations from the back end, like just being privy to, talking to people and saying like, once things have happened, like how long did it take to get that thing together? And they were like, oh, that joint took months and months of negotiation and talking to their managers and trying to figure out how to do the branding and doing all that kind of stuff. So like it's interesting because like you remember Marshmallow was a big thing in Fortnite, and I didn't know who the hell Marshmallow was because I'm old, but it was one of those things when Marshmallow kind of like was in that space, people were like, "Yo, that's a huge deal!" Like, oh crap, who would have known that Marshmallow would have been doing this thing? And it also made Fortnite look bigger than what it was, which was already huge at that point anyway. And then you had the Travis Scott thing, which blew that up into even a bigger space, right? Which is, you have this really mainstream artist that is really kind of killing it and pushing out dope music. And then now we have Lil Nas X in Roblox. It feels like there is a weird diminishing level of returns that you wind up getting after you've done it more than one time. So like I'm expecting like like Lil Mama is going to be in Minecraft Dungeons or something like that. Like we're not going to have the high expectations for all that stuff to be in that way. Like I just don't know if it's going to continue to grow, but it will be something interesting to see. Like you talked about, is it a fad in that way, or is it something that we're going to continue to see? I definitely think it's going to be something that we'll continue to see, especially in Fortnite as a now meta space and not just a game, right? Which is just like they're using that as a different way to build out some new places for people to congregate and to hang out, as opposed to just playing the game. So it's going to be a thing that we'll see more of. It's going to be a thing that we see more artists try to do. The weird part now is what's going to be that interesting space between when you're hot and when you get in. Because you can't do it if you're like old and do it, right? Like
I don't know.
You saw Megan Thee Stallion come out with Mortal Kombat stuff the other day. Like she's cosplaying as Melina in a real way that like is branded through WB and through NetherRealm and all that kind of stuff. I don't think she's getting a skin in the game, but like seeing those literally a skin in the game. But I mean, I want to see her get some skin in the game. Please get some skin in the game, sweet Jesus. But it is a thing where I do want to see what these synergies are going to continue to look like, because they're evolving in a way that's kind of cool. So we'll see. We'll see how that's going to work.
I'm glad you brought up diminishing returns, because I want to point out the fact it's like, all right, look at the age group of Fortnite. You probably got young adults, almost like, I don't really play it, but I wouldn't say it's unreasonable to say you got like 16 to 26-year-olds playing Fortnite. You get Travis Scott. Oh, there you go. 16, 26-year-olds. Fortnite's a hot game. He has mass play. Like, I love Travis Scott. I'm from Houston, so, I love him off that alone. I rep his music. But you get Roblox. The age of Roblox considerably lessens. Like, I'm saying Roblox is maybe 6 to 16. And I'm being generous with that. And then, so who did you get Lil Nas X? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's definitely his age group. Not in a creepy way, just like I can see his fans being from that age. And in the game in Roblox. So I'm like, when you said, I was thinking, what's a hot game that kind of everyone's playing that's free to play? And I was like, got the game. Now I need an artist. We're going to have, I don't know. We're going to have, I don't know, Billie Eilish. She might be a little too big. Okay, no, I got it. We're going to have Nora Cyrus and Genshin Impact. You heard it first.
Right. But like, think about that in terms of like what we've seen so far. Right. And not like these companies, like, have the money to spend. I don't even want to know how much it costs Roblox, and they have the money to do a 15-minute spot with Lil Nas X, who I'm sure is charging you out the behind to get into that spot, right? So like it's gonna be real weird to see like the like when we start going from A list to B list to C list to D list stars. And then like, who is that person who did it a little bit too late? And then you'd be like, oh man, really? You was hot. And then now you like, oh no, like, oh, look who's in Minecraft Dungeons now. What other game? Like, oh, look, it's Jodeci. Like what? Like what?
That would be, first of all, I'm like, who is watching Jodeci? Anyone who would love to watch Jodeci doesn't know Minecraft Dungeons exists.
No, they don't.
Like at all. And you have someone, people like us, like in the middle of the pack or the road to the end of the road. I'm sorry, no,
Right?
he doesn't sing that, but so let's just
They're the same group.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, so I'm like, who would watch that? I would watch it for the novelty of it, but I don't know. I'm thinking about in the opposite direction that you're thinking about it. What if it gets like mainstream? So you get like Apex Legends gets whoever's just super hot on the charts right now, or another free to play game. I say Genshin Impact. They probably wouldn't because it's a Japanese company, so I couldn't see them doing something like that. That would probably like melt faces.
Oh, word. But yeah, people would freak out.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just gonna stick with the Apex or maybe like COD Zombies or whatever their modes, and they're just like, hey, here's like The Weeknd. I only say him because I know he's at the Super Bowl this year, so I'm just using or like you said, they could go someone retired. They could be like, here's Ice Cube or Snoop Dogg, which would still be hot, but not necessarily that current. I don't know. I met someone who didn't know who Tupac was the other day, like on like an online music forum chat. So
wait, what?
Okay, let me correct. He knew who Tupac was, but per him, he's never listened to any of the music. So I'm just like,
oh, okay. Yeah. That's also a bad look for that human being, but that's another part of the conversation. Like, how do you not know? How you have not heard a Pac song? Like, how?
I don't
how? How's that? I mean, there is going to be that. Well, that's a whole other conversation about being old, and then having people who are younger than you be like, "What the hell do you want?" And what you talking about? And nobody talking to you about you and your old taste. Get out of here.
Yeah. You think they're making any money off of this? Like, they have to be, right? Like, but I don't see how, because you don't pay to be there. You're already just a part of the game. So I'm like, what is their return in revenue for this?
You mean Roblox?
Roblox, Fortnite, anyone who would do this.
It's all clout. That's all it is. It's a way to get your name in the headlines in a way that you usually wouldn't during a slow part of the year, right? So it's like, well, Fortnite doesn't have that problem because whatever they do at this point can be huge, right? Roblox is very different in that way where, yes, it's a really big game in terms of user base and all that kind of stuff, but like, ain't nobody checking for Roblox who's over the age of 16 and probably not even that old. So it's like they have to reach out in a different way to bridge that gap. And this is an easy way for them to bridge that gap and get some good publicity in their sleeves for their game. So it makes sense. It's just like their ROI has to be really high. And I wonder what that was, because when did it happen already? Or it
happened this past Monday.
Did they show any stats?
We're within 5 days of it happening.
Okay, so so usually what happens after that is like the company that did it will put out some stats that's like, this many people was in game, this how many people watched it, this how many people were in at this time, da 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 da. Like, if you haven't heard anything within a couple of days about numbers, that means that ROI that didn't get hit.
All right, let me put it like this: as of this recording, the YouTube video of that concert, whatever we call it, was sitting at about under 10K. So we might be at 15K, 20K at time of release. It wasn't that high. I mean, but
that ain't high at all. That's like real low.
I mean, videos could sometimes be a slow burn.
Is it on their Roblox channel?
Yeah, it's weird. I went and I just went to the most highest viewed video because I couldn't tell if it was official Roblox channel, but I was like, I'll give it the clout of whoever is the highest. So of all the videos posted of the concert, the highest one had about 10K.
Wow.
And I cannot verify if that was the official Roblox video. That could have been just a guy in game. He uploaded it first. It come up first in the search. You know how that goes sometimes.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
That number's not good.
And, I feel bad. I want to shout out to any young listeners, viewers out there. We're not griping on your age.
No.
If you're 8 and you enjoy Roblox and you somehow are a fan of the Full Circle podcast, more power to you, bro.
Mad love to you.
Game on. Do not spend all your mom's money buying decorative things. Do not do that.
I mean, and we have to give props to the Roblox community just for the sake of, like, it's a big community. Like, parents understand the impact of Roblox in a real way. So that part to me is like, I can't poop on that at all, because I know how much that actually how
Oh
much,
yeah.
how many numbers they actually do, which is a lot.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw my aunt under the bus, but I'm gonna throw my aunt under the bus real quick. She was like, "Hey, Maya, which is my cousin, she's like 10 now. Shout out to Maya. She was like, the new Xbox is coming out, the Series X. She was like, can you play Roblox on that? And I was like, don't you dare buy her that to play Roblox. Like, I'm not sure if you can even play Roblox on the Series X, but I was just like, no, I refuse to let you make that financial decision for Roblox. Just no, thank you.
I love how you have like removed the ability. Like, you better not. You better not get that Roblox nonsense near my child. Get him away.
If someone asks you, hey, I'm thinking about getting a PS5 so my child can play Roblox, what would your response be to them, honestly?
I would be like, you must be out your goddamn mind. Don't do that. You better not do that. Out your mind.
Exactly. But speaking about PS5, it kind of came out, and I still don't have one as a recording. I don't. I'm sorry. You know, I saw a post, people were like, don't be hating on people who got a PS5. We all love the game. I'm like, yeah, we do love the game, and I can't. That's why I'm upset. You seem to understand this disconnect here. I'm not hating on them playing the PS5. I am literally hating on the fact that Odell Edwin Harmon Jr. does not have one.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable. I can't say anything because I don't want to make you feel bad because I have one.
No, it's cool. My friend got one back when GameStop did their in-person reservations. He drove out an hour past Houston to Crosby. It's not a small town, not big either, but you know, it's an hour away from Houston. He went there and he was the 5th person in line out of the 6 reservations they had. So go him, he got it. So that's been my, you know, my PS5, you know, content that I've been getting. I've been going over his house, being like, haptic feedback, yum, yum, yum. Astro's Playroom and Spider-Man, the one game he has, which I'm pretty sure that's like most of the 90% of people with PS5s right now. But
you're not wrong.
Yeah, so
you're not wrong.
So as you know, since you're famous now and you have one,
wow,
you know, got them Sony Connects. What are your first impressions?
First of all, I had to give at least my firstborn child to get this console early. I mean, I've had it for probably about a month now. Sony sent over a version early, a console early, for us to review. Excuse me. And it's pretty fantastic so far. I think once you get some more time with it, you find small quirks that you're just like, why did you do that? From design perspective, of course, everyone's kind of been talking crap about the design of the machine. I think it's pretty elegant. One of my friends over at Fanbyte said it was the first console to have a popped collar, which I thought was hilarious. Made me laugh real hard, actually. But I think in terms of performance, it feels like it's a pretty brand new console in that way. Like the things that it's doing currently aren't mind blowing yet. It is the controller, though. The controller is the thing when it comes to the PlayStation 5. I did a review that's up on our YouTube channel that talks about that specifically. But that's what you're paying for right now, is the feeling that you get when you hold a DualSense controller and it does something that you didn't expect to do, or it does something that is, you know, a one-to-one analog of what you're seeing on screen, but feels different or sounds different than what you usually are used to. That's the price of admission currently. If you're thinking about PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X, I think the Xbox Series X right now is a more stable solution, but it's boring. And that's the problem. Is like, boring isn't a thing that you have an expectation for when you spend $500. And that's the problem right now. Is like, it just does what it says it's going to do really, really well. And the PlayStation has a little bit more in the bells and whistles. And some of those bells and whistles work, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they're fussy. And sometimes it's like, why do I have to download the PS4 and PS5 version of this game on the same console? Like, why? So I think it's going to be, and I think for most people who are being reasonable and honest about where both consoles are, and especially the PS5, like, I'm not going to say it's a work in progress in the negative term. Like, I think a lot of people, when you hear work in progress, are like, it's not done yet, or you got something that was undone when it first came out. I think they are just really going to have to push a lot of firmware updates to get it to a space that we saw when the PS4 was kind of done in its console life. And I think that's going to be where we wind up getting some of the better parts of this ecosystem. Once you'll be able to put in, external memory, external storage, I would say, and when you're ready to kind of upgrade the firmware to knock out some of those weird quirks, and hopefully we'll get something where it's not freezing as much as it currently has from a lot of different people who I've heard. So I think they're going to work their way through it. I think they're going to find out good ways to optimize stuff and make it better. But right now, it just feels like a version 1.0 system. And I think that some of that stuff is going to wind up getting the kinks ironed out. And once that does, then everybody will be chill.
You make excellent points. And, they say comparison is the thief of joy. But I will say, I'll start off with my best thing I like about the PS5. Compared to PS3 and PS4, not so much the PS3 because that was a big jump, but PS3 to PS4. I remember I got the PS4 at launch and playing it, and I could honestly say that everything I played in maybe my first month could have easily been a PS3 game. Mm-hmm. And it's from looks to feel to gameplay to everything, nothing. I mean, I knew, of course, there's some graphical fidelity that you can instantly tell, like, oh yeah, lighting's better, design's a little crisper, but it's the same product you've played for the past X amount of years. And I can say one thing about the PS5 was I did not get that feeling, which I honestly honestly expected to, because I'm being realistic. I knew it would have been better, but that would have been on paper, like, oh yeah, this is better and this is better. It's like grading the essay at that point. It's like this better is just very subjective. So I was like, this better, I mean, I'll say I'll allot 60 to 70% of that to the controller, but like playing Miles Morales, and I will say my friend, he does have a next gen ready TV. So, it does the 120, refresh rate, get all the 60 FPS. It does all the bells and whistles you needed to do, essentially, however much that TV costs. So I'm going to, credit that to something that it may not look that good on mine when I get it. But I was like, I saw Miles Morales get boot. I'm like, okay, yes, I can tell. I don't need a side-by-side screen comparison where I'm just like, if you switch the names, I would never know. Definite, instant, okay, looks better. There's nothing I can say about the controller that hasn't said now. It feels amazing. At this point, everyone's seen the COD video that, how it responds different with every gun. And like you said, if you haven't felt it, it's hard to put it into words, until you feel it. Because I remember thinking HD Rumble on the Switch was amazing, when you can, you can feel the different metallic balls hitting the box. And I was like, oh my God, Nintendo done it again. And now Sony makes HD Rumble, which I still think is wildly impressive, seeing like, 5-year-old tech. I mean, it is literally, but... And so I'm just enjoying the feeling. I can't say this about Xbox. I haven't delved into the Series X or S, but I enjoy the feeling of like, okay, I spent this money. I can see an immediate difference, because honestly, I didn't think that was going to happen. I knew it was going to look better, but not by this margin. So I'm happy with that. Everything else, I'm not a fan of the UI. I'm going to be honest.
Interesting. Okay.
It doesn't. It's a half step for me. Like you were saying, this is console one. It's like okay, we were headed in the right direction. The cards, the video help, that's all good. And then it's like they stopped. To me, I felt like they stopped, and it needed to be. I don't know. I'm not a UI designer, but for me as a consumer of art and media, it was like, oh, cool. This is great. This is a great, rough draft. Let me see you in a month. And I mean, I know the Xbox UI is more or less the same, so kudos to Sony for, doing something different, but I just feel like there's something that needs to be there, and I don't know if that's going to come later in like customization or a new version of themes or something. So, I mean, that could be, like you said, another hardware, firmware update coming to us in the future, but it just felt, I can't put my finger on it. It felt lacking in a sense that it was a cool idea, but it seemed gimmicky, for lack of a better term, to me.
Yeah. There feels like there's wasted space.
Well, that's yes, that.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of wasted space. Like, I like the fact that when you, excuse me, when you hover over a game, you get the art, which I like. I think that's really smart. I think that the other part, though, is when you're digging through other menus, though, like even getting to like the sub menu is weird because it's like, is it a hard press? Is it a tap? Is it like it's just small things that you have to get used to on the system that should be more intuitive, but kind of aren't right now. Like, and some of that stuff was, me having the device a little bit before the public firmware was out. And there was some stuff that was in there back then. I was just like, why would you do this? Like, this isn't good. This isn't smart in the way you did this. Hopefully you can fix it. So we'll see.
We will see. So I'm gonna ask you. So if you had to give it a ranking, A, B, C, D, what would you give it as of now?
I give it a solid B plus. I think that they're on the right track. I don't think that they're in a bad spot. Like, I think right now the UI is an issue. I think it's okay, but it's like how those things interact with the other parts of the system. So like when you record video manually, it'll just keep going for as long as you want. Like, I don't need it to do that, especially if you're going to have some other option where you take a small video every time I get a trophy. Nobody asked for that. I know people like it, and some people really like it. Literally on a system that has so many storage problems, like both consoles do. What in the hell are you going to have me capture all these goddamn trophies in small little videos that I have to go back in and go manage, that I'm never going to look at, and I'm not going to post on the internet? Because you know what? As much as many people talk about trophies and achievements, nobody really cares unless you got a platinum on it. Unless you platinum it, no one really gives a crap.
So like, you're right.
So I'm just like, I mean, I kind of wish that they would do away with both systems because they kind of don't really have a purpose. But if you're going to do that stuff, like, figure out a way to make those things extremely small and shareable and bite-sized and chunky. Like the fact that now you can capture natively 4K is great. Can I put that stuff on my Twitter feed? Probably not. Then what the hell? Like, like that's what I need. I need to be able to have those systems all work together really well. And then I need those things to be smarter in terms of UI, in terms of usability for social. I think neither one of the consoles have gotten that part right in a good way. Like, for me to share a thing out in a really comprehensive way, I have to take a picture, have an alt account to send that picture to, so I can pull that through on my phone and then post that stuff up on Twitter or whatever social media platform I choose to. And there's no Instagram feature. I'm sure that's an Instagram problem though. But like, still, social is a huge part of all of this stuff, and no console has gotten that right yet.
You're 100% correct, and I'm glad you said that because I was going to keep this hot take to myself. But
yes,
now that you outlaid that, okay. So follow me. We're human beings, right? There's only so much we can do. There's only so much we can take in. And I'm going to use my phone as an example. I hate, and one of the Apple updates correct this, but I hate when I'm doing something on my phone, reading an article, just found that link that I couldn't find to that random, something I wanted to buy from one of them sketchy shirt sites or whatever have you. And then someone calls me, and then like all that is lost to the ether.
Oh, I hate it.
And
I hate it.
I hate it too. And or just, I'm doing something on my phone. I'm writing a spicy tweet. Oh, ooh, I'm the first one to notice. About to get this out. Ooh, a notification popped up. Damn it, quick the notification. Oh, crap, now I'm in the notification. Oh, gotta get out my email. Oh, crap, I'm back to my tweet. Oh, where's that? It's in my drafts. Oh, my God, how'd I get to the drafts again? Real story, folks. Just, I know how to get to Twitter drafts, but this was like before they made it to where you could just go to like drafts before. It's like hidden in like 5 sub menus. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
If you've been on Twitter long enough, you know what I'm talking about. But so playing the PS5, I was like, all right, let me test out, the PIP, the picture-in-picture and all this and stuff. And then I realized, I was like, okay, it's cool that we have the power I can keep playing my game. I can watch someone else's game. And I can get this like, hey, you want to chat and all these notifications. But then I realized it gets so cluttered real quick. Like when I was trying to do like the game help and stuff, it's like, I know the game keeps playing because, you don't have to pause it. But I'm just like, I feel like the game should pause at some point. Yeah. Because, okay, for Sackboy Ventures, while I was playing Spider-Man, it's like, that might work. There's nothing too elaborate happen. But when games get more complicated, I'm like, I don't need to be doing something super elaborate and then like my homie wants to talk, voice chat. Oh, look, here's his game. Like, no, I don't need all that. Like, you're just doing too much. And I was testing out, and I was just like, once I started playing Spider-Man and doing some things and like testing out the features, I was just like, this is honestly unrealistic. Like, I'm glad these features are here because, like you said, it's gonna make somebody happy. Somebody's gonna like it. Someone's like, oh, great, man, I could be playing Demon Souls and I can watch my friend play Demon Souls, and it's like some weird competition thing we're doing, I guess. I mean, yeah, it has this utility, but it kind of just feels like these probably should have been like extended out into the UI somehow and not like incorporated during gameplay, which I just feel like that's a weird decision for me. And I know it's probably a hot take. People are thinking like, dude, you're crazy, bro. It's progress.
Well, the problem is not that the fact that, like you said, it's not the fact that the things are there. It's just they don't talk to each other well. They just don't. They don't. There's no flow to some of the ways that some of that stuff works, and that's the problem. It's like the flow is all wrong because it takes you out of the main experience to do a second experience that's not as good. And it, like a lot of this stuff could be handled fairly well if there were like weird, like in-game overlay stuff, right? That was just like, oh, I don't ever have to leave the game to do this stuff. I can do a shortcut, or there's an extra button, or there's a button combination that I can do that's like, oh, well, let me hit these two triggers, let me pause the game, hit these two triggers, and then it does the thing and pulls me into whatever I need to do without having to pull me out of the experience. It's just that they don't talk together well, and I think that that's always been a problem, no matter which console you've had.
You're right. The fact that we don't have the option to hotkey stuff is weird. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know how much programming that would take. I would assume not a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, people, but
even if you took, like, especially on the DualSense, right? I'm never going to use the mute button on the microphone. There's a mute button on the controller. I'll never use it because I have a headset that does that 95% of the time, right? So like, let me change the button mapping on that to something else that's like instant jump into a party, or the button that is kind of like, well, the PlayStation button on the controller itself is usually kind of the do it all button anyway. It's like, oh, you have a notification come up, hit this button, it'll take you to it. Like, I want something that's in game that does that. So yeah, like let me change some of the functionality on some of the buttons that I know I'm never going to use.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. You know what I hate? This is just a side note. I hate anything that's like press L3 and it always takes me like half a second to be like, what the hell is L3? And I'm like,
click hard.
Oh, push into the thumbs. Okay. I don't know why. Like, anytime I'm playing a game and it randomly pops up like press R3, I'm like, what the hell is R3? Like, I don't know why. Like, that may seem weird, but it always throws me up. Like, I feel like they should just recall like press the thumbstick or something.
Something. I rock with you on that for sure.
Yeah. So, hopefully the UI gets better, but continuing our next gen talk, like I alluded to earlier in the show, we were talking about exclusivity mainly with Bethesda. But before we jump into that, because I got some thoughts on that, we got some spicy news. So in case you didn't know, Jim Ryan set the internet on fire earlier because in an interview with The Telegraph, they asked him, would God of War Ragnarok be an exclusive? And he basically was like, I don't know. I can't talk about that. Who am I to say? I mean, he didn't say that.
I don't know nothing about this game.
He gave a non-answer. And, I mean, okay, yeah, I know we do that a lot because, legally we don't know. But that's God of War we're talking about here. We're not talking about Kingdom Hearts. We're not talking about Cyberpunk. We're not talking about, I don't know, what's the battle game coming in January for PlayStation? Rumble Beats.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking. I can't remember the name now. Something like that.
Y'all know the game. We're not
driving in a circle.
Yeah.
The game.
Man, we were just clowning everybody today. Everybody.
I mean, look, everybody can get it today. This is Tuesday. Everybody get it.
But yeah,
but I feel you on that.
Yeah, it's God of War. So I'm like, what is this man? Okay, if Phil Spencer came out and was like, is a Halo Infinite gonna be an Xbox exclusive? I don't know. like the internet would crap itself. Like, could you imagine the chaos that would cause?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, right? Is like you have all these folks who are who are at that head of their companies, and they're trying to keep everything close to the vest, and they're trying to make sure that no secrets get out. And Sony has been very, very sadly have gotten a lot of leaks in the past couple of years, and so I understand why he's like especially worried about getting anything out into the world. But I mean, I understand the hesitancy to say yes or no, but we all kind of know where this game is going to go, right? Like people, like people's been like, oh, it's going to go to Xbox. It's never going to go to Xbox. It's never going to go to Microsoft. Get that out of your minds. It's going to go to PC. Like all these other games have been going to PC, and that's the other platform. If it goes multi-plat, it's going to go to PC, which is brilliant. And is a thing that they should be doing more of, which is putting more of their first party title games, their big name games on PC. Oh. And I know PC people are like, yo, that's great for us. I know Sony ponies are like, why the hell are you doing that? Don't give our games away to PC people. But like, that's the best thing for people to be in that ecosystem, because weirdly, Microsoft wins when you still do that anyway. So like, they don't even need to have it on there because it's on a Windows platform. So that means they still getting dough. So it's a PC is where that game, if it does go multiplayer, is where it's going to go.
What do you think, honestly, the chances of that? Do you think he kept it to the vest because it's probably going to PC, or is he just stirring the pot?
Well, he can't say yes and no to anything anyway right now because their main focus is selling consoles, right? So it's like if they are going to say anything that would lend to them giving more people access to their stuff now, it doesn't do anything for them, even from a timing standpoint. Like even shouting that out and now and being like, yeah, it's going to go to a different platform. Like that just undercuts their marketing, that undercuts their ability to kind of get into a broader scope. Like they're going to go super, super, super hard marketing this thing on the PS5. And then once it's been out in the world, they'll do the conversation around PC. Just from a timing perspective, it just makes more sense to do it that way too. So I just hate the name Ragnarok. I don't know why they made it God of War Ragnarok. Why? Could have given it a better name. I don't like that name. I hate that name. But anyway.
I honestly thought, even though I guess Ragnarok's going to happen over the course of the game, if you play the first one, that's no secret. It's headed that way. But I was like, I wonder they're trying to capitalize on Thor Ragnarok and the Marvel movie. I wonder I honestly did, because I heard it. I'm like, God of War Ragnarok. I was like, I mean, it makes sense. It's on code. But I was like, honestly, I thought it was going to be called God of War 2, and they were just going to be like, screw confusion. Like,
I was like, just do that. I don't mind that. Like, call it God of War 2, put a big old fat Fire 2 on it, and then that's it.
Yeah,
with two swords on it.
Oh, well, what's the Fast and the Furious method? The God of War, boom.
God of War dose.
Yeah.
I'll be okay with that.
So you bring up an interesting fact about the PC thing, because I have a friend that one of his like pet peeves is like Deathloop. It's like PS5 exclusive and PC. It's like the new Final Fantasy, PS5 exclusive and PC. And he's like, does PC not count as a console? Is that the loophole? What is with that? And I was also, what in terms of exclusivity, can we really say something's exclusive if it's also on PC?
No, like the terminology has always been stupid, and that's the part that's always been like really unnecessary. Is like, just say it's multi-platform unless it's not, because if it's not, then it's not. But if it is on multiple things, well, I guess it's like exclusive for a time. But like we even saying timed exclusives, even to most folks who are in the community now, is like this weird icky word where people are like, ew, why'd you doing timed exclusive? Why you got to give it to the other people? Why you got to do all that? And I'm just like, well, it doesn't matter because you're getting it first if you already have the console. And why are you worried about if other people play it after you? That thing has never made sense to me. Like, oh, let me get mad about a thing you're just going to have later. For what? That makes no damn sense. So it's just a really just bugged out way of people kind of looking at it. But I do understand some of the reasons why you would do it. It's just really annoying from a consumer perspective to be like, well, just tell me what it's going to be on so I know to save up my money for it or to get excited about it so I can do that work and then get really upset when you tell me it got pushed back 6 months. So, so like, just do the work.
That's a continuing trend now. Because most of the times, the joke about the PC Master Races is like, yeah, you'll have the best games like, a decade later, and that's kind of been the trend. But now we see this more and more so often that, they pretty much release within a week of each other now. And
Yep.
I wonder, it's a weird thing to say, but is this console generation going to be the generation of the PC? Meaning that, because I saw someone said, I already have a next gen console. It's my PC. Everything's coming here anyway for both PlayStation and Xbox. He was like, why buy two different machines when I already have the one? And I was like, damn, he has a really good point. Honestly, I don't know if you could have said that anytime prior to this.
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, I think that's the beauty and the brilliance of what Microsoft has been doing this generation with the Xbox Series X and their conversations around xCloud and all those things has been, they're not really pushing you to buy a console. They're like, just get Game Pass and you'll be all right. In some form or fashion, you'll be able to play our stuff somewhere. And to a certain extent, if you were betting on, which machine to get, from a dollars and cents perspective, the Xbox Series X as a console or just getting Game Pass is the smarter move. And you're still kind of just banking on the PlayStation 5 getting those super banger AAA games. And also, if the biggest if right now is less about PC and which console you're going to get, is more about you're going to be good on the Microsoft side of things either way. If you're on the Sony side of things, you have to really hope that more developers loop in the DualSense stuff into their games in a reasonable way that feels discernible and feels important to the gameplay and feels not tacked on at the end. And we're going to see during this life cycle of this console how many companies actually go all in on that stuff and how many people just throw it in to check off the box and be like, we did it. And it doesn't actually feel as dope. So that's going to be the thing that's going to be the actual conversation. Like PC folks are going to be fine. And then if they've wind up putting out some drivers for PC that you'll be able to do some of the vibration stuff on PC, then it's a wrap for
game over. GG.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap because then you don't really even need to buy the console. You can just get the controller, have it work on Steam, and then you're good. So we will see. We will definitely see.
If Nintendo's any indicator of this, because the Wii can do amazing things, the Switch can do amazing things, and it's nitty gritty, but Nintendo's really the only person who does those amazing things. So I wonder if based off, but Nintendo and Sony are two different companies, and let's be honest, Nintendo doesn't always play nice, pretty much never, not at all. So I wonder if companies will be more prone to do that for Sony. Or Sony would strong arm them, I wonder, in a way.
Well, the problem is they didn't, like in the previous gen, if I remember correctly, there were some like stipulations that you're like, if you put a game out on our platform, it must have this in it. I haven't heard anything like that from the DualSense conversations that I've heard so far of like, you must, if you make a game on this system, have some kind of DualSense integration that feels like you're using that haptic feedback in that way. It would be smart for them to put that in there at some point because you have to give people a differentiator. And when people ask me now, like, yo, Kyle, what should I get? I'm like, it really depends. Like, I do think that the DualSense is a difference maker in a big way. When I ask for codes from PR, it's one of the first questions I ask now is like, does this game have any DualSense stuff in it that I should actually care about? And if it does, I will usually get it on that system. I'll usually get on the PS5 to test it and to review it because I think that is such a different experience that you wind up getting. And to a certain extent, like I'm playing COD now, I'm playing Cold War on my Xbox, and I'm sitting there kind of thinking in the back of my head, like, I want to know what that gun stuff feels like in the back of my head. Like, I want to know if the trigger stuff feels different, and supposedly it does. And if it does, like, how does that actually affect gameplay? Because that's a huge thing. It's like, if your gun feels different every time you pick up a different gun, that changes the way you shoot people. It changes the way you play for a fundamental way. So, it will be interesting to see what that means for the PC. I think as you saw today with the Cyberpunk 2077 video that went up on Night City Wire that showcased the game running on an Xbox One, and then Xbox Series X. The big differences that you saw there, and then if you think about how good it looked on the Xbox Series X in comparison to what they would show when they showed the PC version, it is a big jump between the Xbox Series X and the PC version. And I don't think a lot of people understand how big of a jump that's going to wind up being. I've seen it with Watch Dogs in an actual discernible way when it comes to ray tracing. And, God willing, at some point, maybe Spider-Man makes it to PC. And if it does, my goodness, what that game is going to look like on a PC. So there's lots of conversations in there to talk about from that standpoint, for sure.
All right. So before we get too deep in the weeds with this PC talk, and honestly, I hate to say it, but they might hit that master race mark in this console cycle. Y'all might be true to your titles finally, but so we said a lot of icky stuff and icky words. What about Bethesda? Because that is becoming more and more of a mess. Like, for example, they keep giving us these runarounds about time exclusivity, that icky word, that the new phrase is it will be, best on the Xbox, whatever that means. I hate when they say that, like, we're like, this is the best place to play this game. I'm like, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything to me. Like you said, with the haptic feedback, that's a discernible difference. You can quantify that, if you will. I can't quantify best what? Like an extra map? Like, I mean, unless they literally mean they're downgrading it on other systems, which is that's kind of a sucky move. I hope they, because some people speculate they could be that it. But I'm like, that to me feels like, hitting your opponent in the kneecap.
Right.
But hey, it's business out there. It's a grimy world. And so I'm going to say this. I'm happy there's no Bethesda property that I'm in love with. I'm not saying they're not good games. But what I'm saying is, because of the situation, like for our Skyrim, Fallout players and stuff, I feel like I'll be super anxious right now. It's like, do I not get a PlayStation in the fear of never playing my favorite games or having them suck from a fundamental level because, whatever they do to make it not the best? And I'm just like, the more people talk about it, the more they keep asking questions, that I feel like the situation gets worse. Like, I never felt better about the situation.
Yeah, it's a weird deal for Bethesda in the way that they're messaging some of the stuff out, especially because they got bought mid transition in a weird way in terms of gens, right? So it's not like going into next gen. Well, kind of going into next gen, they knew that they were going to be embedded with with Microsoft in that way. I think that from a consumer standpoint, though, like, the thing that I actually care about more is, like, have they changed engines? My God, please, like, have you done something to fix, like, go to a different engine or a new version of it? Because I don't care where it's the best to play. If you still run it on that old ass engine, then I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can rock with it. I'm excited for Starfield, whatever that's going to wind up being. If they make another, when they do the next Elder Scrolls stuff, it'll be cool looking. I think that stuff is going to be fine. You're right about the discernible best part, though. Like, there is no quantifiable best. And even when you say that out loud, and when I absorb it, I'm just like, it's just not a great thing to add to the conversation, because you're going to wind up having to eat your own words at some point, because somebody's going to do something that's going to make it look better or play better. They're going to mod it, and they're going to do all sorts of kind of stuff. But they have to kind of toe the company line because they are now, bought out by Microsoft. It's going to just be weird. It's just going to be weird to see what happens with their games and how they market it. The conversation from Phil Spencer was basically like, we'll, on a case-by-case basis, we'll see where these games go. And that automatically just raised the flag to be like, Sony, I ain't getting nothing.
I said this, I think it was last show, the show before last. I was like, because he was around the time he said that, and I was like, man, at first I was thinking, what everyone was thinking. The easy answer would be, Skyrim, Fallout, all the big name games that have existed on multi-platform continue to be multi-platform, and any new IP would just be solely Xbox. Easy peasy, we all go on our lives. But everything they're saying is like contradicting that, not contradicting that, making things more confused. I'm like, at this point, I don't think Sony's getting anything. And
I mean, they shouldn't either. Like, to be honest, They
I
shouldn't.
mean, yeah, but
Like, that's the reason you spend that kind of money. You don't spend that money to be like, yeah, we'll give you some.
what was it, like $3 billion or something like
Yeah,
that?
it was like like 3 billion, something like that. I mean, you don't spend that kind of money not to strong arm the competition in that way. And I think that's reasonable because, to be honest, they've had a bunch of games slip. They never have really had, besides Halo, a big franchise that they can say is ours. So, like, do that. Like, you have to do it, and then Sony has to match you. It's just
And
competition.
all right, and I'm gonna here's another hot take. And I'm only again, you've opened the door for this hot take, so I thank you.
Reasonable.
I'm gonna need that Microsoft money to actually for them to complete a game, because after like Fallout 76 and the last versions of Skyrim and screw the engine. How about a game that works? I've never seen people love broken games as much as they love Bethesda games.
Yeah.
I'm not. If you work for Bethesda, I'm proud of you. If you help design the game, I'm proud of you. I know you put your heart and effort into it. I'm not trying to down anyone's craft. But if we are being completely honest with ourselves, and I mean, Fallout 76 is just ain't no one gonna argue me example of this. That game wasn't complete in any stretch of the imagination. Nope. And you people who bought the game and then bought the game again to get a somewhat still not complete game, bro, I don't know what to say to you, bro. Like, when they were doing that get your money back campaign, you should have hopped on that. You should have been like, you know what? I'm gonna take my money, we go shake hands, and we go call it a day. But I don't know what you're doing. When I read that headline that Fallout 76, they were charging them for the updated patch that made the game playable. I'm like, what?
They charge cash for servers, and I was like, what? I mean, but that's the bigger point, right? Is that, and that was the reason why when everybody was like freaking out, oh my God, Microsoft is going to monopolize the game industry and they're going to take all these companies and do all this stuff. And when they were like, oh, Bethesda's like a huge company, and took it, I was like, yeah, but Bethesda hasn't put out a really good game in a while. So like, I'm okay with them buying them and making them better. Yeah. Like, because that's what I think you get. I think you get, in the same way you've seen Insomniac and you've seen Sony Santa Monica and you've seen all these other games, all these other companies on the Sony side get that first party love. Bethesda now gets that first party love from the Microsoft side. And I think that'll be a huge boon to them to get them into a better spot so that the games they make are infinitely better. Because honestly, the only game that has really captured anyone's mind, attention, or, actual like praise has been Doom. And that's it in the past 5 years. Right. So like, let them work through it and get themselves into a better position, because they need it, to be honest. They needed the help. So we'll see.
So I'm going to ask you an interesting question, and you can be completely honest. So we're going to exclude PC from this conversation because it's just going to be an easier conversation. Excluding PC, solely the consoles.
Yep.
Do you see this gen turning every console into like Nintendo? And what I say Nintendo is, like, let's be honest, 90% of every game you buy on Nintendo is a first-party Nintendo game. That's just how it is. And always be. And for the foreseeable future, that ain't changing.
Right.
Do you see us going forward, especially with the way Microsoft's moving? And I don't know what Sony has in plan for its studios or acquisition of any studios going forward, that we're going to see death of multi-platform games, excluding PC, as in it will be on Xbox PC, PlayStation PC, and some weird alternate universe Nintendo PC, to where the consoles have made it to where, like, hell, even COD would only be exclusively on one console. Could you see us going somewhere like that? Especially because I feel like if Microsoft, Xbox, rightfully so, like you said, takes every Bethesda, anything named, clearly it's like, this is ours, you're not getting it, can't touch it, oh well, so sad. I feel like Sony would have to respond in kind to stay in the game at that point. They wouldn't fall off the map, but they would have to do something of that nature, being like, all right, well, these games aren't going nowhere either.
Well, honestly, the answer would be no. And the reason I say no is because there are really, but if you think about every year in gaming, there's about 7 to 8 AAA games that come out a year. everything else gets filled in with indies and other stuff, right? So like you'll have a heavy hitter come along, and we've only really seen it this year because everything's gotten kind of pushed. We've seen so many big games kind of drop at the same time, but that's super rare. That's not a thing that happens that often. And a lot of those things have been multi-platform anyway. So like Cyberpunk is going to be multi-plat, huge game. It'll come out on Xbox first, I think, or something like that. But whatever the exclusivity they had was there. But that's still going to be multi-plat. Assassin's Creed is multi-plat. Watch Dogs Legion is multi-plat. Like all those bigger games are going to be multi-plat anyway. And I think from a company perspective, from a publisher perspective, they can't afford to go to just be exclusive unless they get paid a lot from the companies initially. And you've seen that very rarely happen. So, I think you'll see more multi-platform stuff in this generation than less. I think that the differentiators between the two are what is going to drive sales to one thing or the other. So like reviews now are going to be actually way more important. Early reviews are going to be way more important to the ecosystem because of the way that the hardware works. So I like, if you told me, Cyberpunk 2077 on a PS5 is going to have some bugged out DualSense stuff on it, that's going to perk my ears up to be like, well, I might not get it on the Xbox version, even if it is in higher resolution and runs a little bit better. I'm going to be playing that game on PC anyway, but I'm going to play it on Xbox Series X too, because I think that there's incentives over there to do that. But there's going to be controller stuff in there too. So it really is going to come down to performance. It's going to come down to if you really care about native 4K and 120, if those games are going to be in it, and if you have the television to run it at that speed and at that fidelity. And then we're going to see, again, like PC is just going to be in the back of the corner, just chilling, being like, yo, we've been doing this. Y'all catching up. But even then, you still have features that are on console that PC doesn't have. Like I saw somebody today talking about how they're annoyed at how fast things load on their consoles and not on their PC anymore. So it's a weird flip-flop now where you get higher fidelity, but you don't get those fast, super quick loads, right? So I think that's what we're going to wind up seeing. Unless PC can figure out ways to get into that part of the game, then we'll have this conversation, for the rest of the year.
Got you. And so we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, but would you think time exclusivity would play a role in this? Let's say everything is truly going to go more multi-platform. So we go to this weird, we're not going to focus more on being exclusive, but more being the first place to play. You think that's going to be a driving factor, or people will be more sensible? Like, I'll wait 3 months to play this on Xbox, PC, PlayStation, what have you.
Nah, people are gonna jump on it. If they have the ability to jump on it early, they'll jump on it early. Because you want to be in the zeitgeist. You want to be in the conversation.
That's true.
And if you're not, then that makes it more difficult for you to feel like, you want to wait. And because you saw it all this week about when people getting consoles and people are like, yo, I have mad FOMO. And I was like, I totally get when people have FOMO, and it's reasonable. So like I get it.
Yeah, this goes out to my Kingdom Hearts Xbox players. I'm just like, how are you a Kingdom Hearts fan and be playing it on Xbox, bro? Like, that don't make no sense. It don't. I will make fun of Kingdom Hearts Xbox players at any chance I get, because I'm just like, bro, like, how you been anticipating 3 when you can only play the games on Xbox, like 2 months ago? Like, you didn't jump that deep into the Kingdom Hearts pool in 2 months. Trust me. You needed that 15-year gap to understand everything going into 3. So
that's hilarious.
I don't know, but also I'm the type of guy, like, if I start a series on one console, I pretty much got to stick with that console, because I tried to play Metal Gear on the Xbox once, and I damn near threw the controller out the window. I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, I can't hide, I can't shoot. I skipped the cutscene by accident. I didn't know what was going on. I was lost.
Hilarious.
I'm for real. Kahlief, I want to thank you for joining me on the show this week. You brought some great wisdom and insight, so I appreciate that. And real quick, tell people where to find you, what you're up to, and all that good stuff. Don't hit him in his DMs.
Don't hit me in my DMs. Don't hit me. Don't fleet me, damn it. Don't fleet me. You can check out our show every Friday is when the live show goes up. We do our recordings Now on Wednesday, we're bridging the gap between usually doing it on Thursdays, but now we're doing it on Wednesdays until a little bit after Christmas this year, because on Thursday nights we do a co-stream of the NFL with Twitch. So we've been partnered with the NFL to do some streams with Twitch. We can do in Thursday Night Football, so you can come over and hang out with us there and do some not betting on the game, but basically like some predictions of the game live while we do it. We're competing with 20 other streamers you might have heard of, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tatman, Grand Pooh Bear, and others. Big Cheese KIT. And other folks like that doing stuff there. But Wednesday nights on twitch.tv/spawn-on-me around 7 p.m. PST is where we do our live show. And then that live show goes out on podcast networks all over the globe on Friday. And then YouTube, usually probably on that Monday afterwards, is where you'll see the live show going up there. Yeah, you can check out our stuff everywhere in that space. And yeah, we're doing some fun things. We actually have a show coming up with the incomparable Sarah Bond this week, who's the head of gaming ecosystems at Microsoft. I think she's probably one of the top Black women over in Xbox. So we're going to have her on the show this week, hanging out with folks, and that'll show will go up probably a little bit later in the week or maybe early next week. So make sure you check that out.
Oh, word, dope. Please, people, like, share, subscribe to all his content, because I tell y'all this every week. It's free 99, and if you're listening to me say that, you already here. So, I mean, it's not the PS5 UI. I mean, you can hit like, share, subscribe, and keep listening all at the same time.
You can probably listen to it on Spotify while you're playing the game. Actually, you can probably do it on the thing.
There you go. Yeah, remember, we're here every Wednesday, people. Remember, everywhere podcast is found, on YouTube, usually at noon Central Time. But, follow me as well, Older Harmon Jr., on all your favorite social media. And if you're really digging me and you're like, I'll like, share, subscribe, but I actually want to contribute some money, there's a Patreon. I appreciate it. Shout out to the Patreons, Gabriel Garcia, Bake Rice, Ryan Frazier. Y'all cool. But again, hit them like, share, subscribe buttons, all that good stuff. If you keep coming here and you don't do that, well, leave a review then. Damn, something. But as always, everyone, have a great week and be blessed.
Peace, y'all.